Chiefs Kingdom. We are just a few days out from our Week 8 matchup on Monday Night Football against the Washington Commanders, and we've got some enormous injury news to discuss that's going to have a huge impact on this game. You're watching the Chiefs Report by Chad Sports. My name's Jackson Durham. Let's get right into this thing. So, like I said, guys, we are heading into a big one in week 8. Got the Washington Commanders coming to town to Kansas City for another home game for us on back to back home games. Looking for back to back win, or looking to make it 3 in a row wins. Excuse me. Let's talk about what's on the agenda for today. So, first up, we've got some enormous injury news to discuss around one of the Commanders' star players and a couple players on our end as well. Some breaking news as I was getting ready to film this video. Had to add a little bit to it, some injury news on our end. Once we get through all that, we're going to focus on our keys to victory, some things I think Kansas City absolutely needs to do to beat this talented Commanders team, even dealing with some injuries. They're a good squad. We can't take them lightly. And lastly, I need you guys to hit that subscribe button. Guys, we are so close to 74,000 subscribers on this channel. As I was getting ready to film this, we were just 10 away. I know we can get there today. It's the birthday of the channel today. I believe the channel turned 6 years old today. Help us celebrate the birthday. Help us get to 74K. Let's get into the news, though. So, Ian Rappaport tweeting yesterday, Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels, who suffered a low-grade hamstring strain on Sunday, is out for Monday Night Football against the Chiefs, according to sources. Marcus Mariota to get the start. The Commanders went on to confirm that this morning, and that means for the first time since 2016 in the wild card game, we are set to see Marcus Mariota start in Arrowhead Stadium. And I don't need to remind you guys of what happened in this wild card game. Darrelle Revis, legend that he is, batted the ball right back to Marcus Mariota, who catches it, runs it in for a touchdown. They end up getting the win in this one over Alex Smith and the Kansas City Chiefs just before the Mahomes era got going. And Mariota in his career is 2-0 versus Kansas City as a starter. This is a guy who's had some success against us, but this is an opportunity for revenge, an opportunity for us to take advantage of an injured Commanders unit. No Jayden Daniels in this one. Don't have to worry about their extremely, extremely talented starting quarterback. I cannot stress enough for you guys how big that is, how much of their offense is designed around Jayden Daniels being the feature point there. He accomplishes so much for their run game, both being a huge element in and of itself, also on the option. And they have some of that with Mariota as well, but he is just not the level of athlete that Jayden Daniels is. He's not the thrower of the ball that Jayden Daniels is. And you can see his stats from this season absolutely back that up. He's a solid quarterback, not a starter at all in this league anymore, though, and you can see that. He's just not at that level. 60% completion percentage, 426 yards, 3 touchdowns to 2 interceptions in 2 starts in which they are 1-1, and a passer rating of 85.6. And he's unfortunate, or Jayden Daniels is unfortunately not the only injury that the Commanders are dealing with. We're never rooting for injuries, but these are very notable for us as we plan for this team. Dorrance Armstrong, their edge defender, one of the best defensive players on this squad, is out for the rest of the season dealing with an ACL tear. That's a huge loss for them. It's hard to understate how big that, or overstate, excuse me, how big of a factor not having him in the pass rush is going to be, especially since we're still expected to miss Josh Simmons this week. Deebo Samuel is questionable for this game with a heel injury, as is Terry McLaurin. They've been missing Terry McLaurin a lot. They do expect to get both of these guys back this week, but that's kind of a refrain we've heard over and over again from Dan Quinn in this Commanders staff around Terry McLaurin and around Deebo Samuel. They were both expected back in Week 7 against the Cowboys, expected to practice all week. However, neither ended up practicing much at all. Actually, Deebo did practice that week, but they held him out anyway. Terry didn't practice at all, and neither of those guys ended up playing against the Cowboys. So you can't really just take Dan Quinn's word that they are expected to play in Week 8 or that they're trending to play in Week 8. This is something I'm going to keep an eye on for you guys. I'm going to have some shorts coming out around their status, so make sure you hit that subscribe button because you got to stay up to date around this news. And you also need to stay up to date around our own injury news. For those of you who are subscribed, I already put out a short on this, so you're a little up to date with this information, or more up to date than everybody else. Trey Smith missed practice today dealing with back spasms. Very significant. Our right guard out once again. And unfortunately, he missed, obviously, he left week 7 pretty early on in that game dealing with this back lockup. And it does seem like it's going to be a more long term issue than we were originally hoping for. The speculation during the game was that he could have come back and played if the game was closer, that he would have finished the game. But obviously, we were destroying the Raiders. There was no need to put Trey Smith at risk. But this kind of makes you question whether or not that was the case in the practice window leading up, or are they just being safe with Trey? Is that what the continued approach is? Because that is the approach for Kareem Hunt. Andy Reid confirmed several other Chiefs missed practice today. Josh Simmons still dealing with the personal matter. We'll talk about him in a second. But Kareem Hunt also missed practice dealing with the bone bruise in his heel. We saw him pull up in, I believe, the third quarter of our game against the Raiders. Actually, no, it was the second quarter. It happened in the first half because he only played 6 snaps in the second half. Very much limited in the second half for Kareem Hunt after he got that bone bruise in his heel, and he did not practice on Thursday. But this is one where Andy Reid was very quick to assert that this is not going to be a long-term issue for Kareem Hunt, that this is just something that they're taking it easy with. He wasn't that clear about that with Trey Smith, so definitely a little more cause for concern with this back spasm issue with Trey. On to Josh Simmons, though. This is something we've talked about a lot. Did a whole video around the Josh Simmons situation. We finally got a little bit more of an update on that one from Andy Reid today. Here's what he had to say. He said Josh is dealing with a personal situation, which we kind of already knew, but he confirmed that the Chiefs have been in communication with him. And more importantly, he said that this is not a negative situation. So all of the speculation, which I, again, do not love the speculation from Chiefs Kingdom around this situation, at least the negative speculation. I understand that people are very curious, but I don't think we need to run wild with the theories. And the theories that people did run wild with, the really negative ones, those are not true. Josh Simmons isn't dealing with any sort of negative situation. He's just taking care of his family, according to Andy Reid. That's exactly what we want to hear. And again, we continue to support Josh Simmons. We're sending all the best his way. Let's focus on how to beat Marcus Mariota right now, though. Number one, the biggest key to knocking him off his game, you go back in his career, a heavy dose of the blitz. Get pressure in his face. This is something we've struggled with all season long, getting pressure with just rushing 4. We've talked about this over and over again as we get into trade rumors, as the trade deadline approaches. That defensive line could be a target area for us. But obviously, until we make a move like that, we're going to have to rely on the blitz to create real pressure, and that's what we've done all season pretty successfully. I think we can do that again against this Commanders team and against Marcus Mariota, who really does struggle with that. Number 2, we want to take away the easy stuff from Marcus. He thrives on the 5 to 10 yard area passes. If you give him stuff like that, he'll take it and he'll hit it pretty efficiently. He's completing about 75% of everything he throws between 0 and 10 yards away from the line of scrimmage. We want to make him take some deeper shots. We want to take away the easy stuff and force him to take chances down the field because Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel, even if they play in this game, they're not going to be 100%. His best 2 weapons, not at 100%. We can cover those guys down the field. I think we can run with them. We can force him to throw some risky balls down the field, force him to commit some turnovers. And lastly, we've got to take away the QB run game. Our linebackers have got to play well in this. We've got to have an athletic approach there with Leo Chenal. I would love to see him playing the QB spy role in this one. I think he's the kind of athlete that can handle Marcus Mariota. Be sideline to sideline. Do not let him beat you with his legs because he can create explosives for this Commanders offense with his legs if you allow him to do that. And speaking of explosives, guys, speaking of explosively good plays, explosively good food, I think of Omaha steaks, some of the best steaks in the game. And I was talking about it last week. I'm heading down to up to Oklahoma this weekend to meet my family to go see the Sooners take on Ole Miss on Saturday. And you know what I've got with me, what I'm bringing in the car? A bunch of Omaha Steaks, because Omaha Steaks is the official sponsor of tailgating. And from legendary burgers to mouthwatering steaks, deli-style franks, and so much more, you'll elevate your next game day get-together with America's original butcher. Omaha Steaks' legendary flavor is served in stadiums and homes across the country and at tailgates just like mine at Oklahoma. And I've got an exclusive deal just for the Chiefs Report viewers. The Kingdom is going to get an extra $35 off with promo code Chiefs at checkout. Guys, get big savings on big flavor this football season and make game day delicious with the official sponsor of tailgating. Visit omahasteaks.com and get $35 off with promo code Chiefs at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com and promo code Chiefs at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. Once again, huge shout out to Omaha Steaks for supporting today's video. Always appreciate them. Let's get back to our keys to victory against the Commanders. Number one, continuing our conversation around Marcus Mariota, we want to make them win through him. This team changes a little bit when Marcus is in there. Every team's going to change when you have to make a change at quarterback. I think of the teams in the NFL, the Commanders have done a great job of structuring their depth chart at quarterback so that they don't have to make so much of a drastic change. But it's 100% clear that while this team is committed to the run always, they're the number 2 rushing offense in the NFL, they commit to it more than anybody else when Marcus is under center. Check this out. Carry splits for them with Jayden Daniels under center, 27.5 on average. That ranks them 13th in the NFL. Once again, they're always committed to the run. They're always going to be running hard and frequently. But when Marcus is in, they run it literally more than any other team in the NFL. They run the ball 34 times a game. 34 times a game. A lot of that with Marcus Mariota. He's a huge part of their run game. They can do it with the QB option. They'll do it with the QB draw. And like I said, he's perfectly capable of creating explosives all on his own. But they've also got an arsenal of other guys that they can lean on. A great depth chart at running back, featured with Bill Croskey-Merritt and Jeremy McNichols. Also, Chris Rodriguez Jr. has been making some big plays as well. They did lose Austin Eckler, but we want to focus on Bill Croskey-Merritt because Croskey-Merritt has had a really, I'm going to say up and down start to the season, to be honest with you. He's had some great games at times. He's also had a bit of a fumbling issue. And I think there's some things we can take advantage of in Croskey-Merritt's game. For a rookie, especially an undrafted rookie, either undrafted or 7th round, he was undrafted. He's playing really well. 73 carries, 377 yards, 4 touchdowns. He's averaging 5.2 yards per carry. But the fumbling issue for him that's popped up in the last couple games, I do think that's something we can take advantage of. And if we can stifle the run game from them, I think we can force them to go to Marcus Mariota. I think that can be a huge win for us as a defense in this one if we can force them to lean on Marcus's passing attack. I just think they're not built to throw the football that way. And you look over the last 3 games for Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt, like I talked about, fumbling has been an issue for him. Against the Chicago Bears, he had a fumble. Against the Chargers, he had a fumble, despite having a really great game. And he actually had his worst game of the season by far last week against the Dallas Cowboys. So I think this is something we could take advantage of, especially because of how good our run defense has been over the last couple of weeks, especially when you compare to the first few weeks of the season, where run defense at times was an issue for our defense. I think it's something that's evolved into one of our biggest strengths, especially in the last 3 games. If you look at the last 3 games worth of stats, first 4 weeks, we were on average allowing 26 carries for 127 yards, an average of 4.8 yards per carry. We had 15 runs against us of 10 or more yards. And we gave up 4 rushing touchdowns in those 4 games. But the last 3 games, 20 carries per game, 77.5 yards, down to less than 4 yards per carry allowed. We've gave up a third as many 10 or more yard runs, really doing a much better job of containing the explosives in the run game. And we've only allowed 2 rushing touchdowns. This is the approach we have to have. I was so impressed with the way we defended the run against the Lions, against the Jags, and even against the Raiders as well. Not a great rushing offense there like you have in the Jags and in the Lions. But again, we need to replicate those performances. If we can do that, we can force Washington to do what they don't want to do, which is go away from the run game, to lean on Marcus Mariota, and we can win this football game. But I want to hear from you guys. Who do you guys have in this one? I've made it pretty clear. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win. We're going to do a couple more reasons why I think they will and things they got to do. But I want to hear from you guys. Type KC if you're rolling with our Kansas City Chiefs. Type WAS if you're rolling with the Washington Commanders. Let me know down in the comments. Key to victory number 2. We got to vary the attack on offense. This is something I was so impressed with last week against the Raiders. And it's something we talked about with getting Rahsee Rice back that he can open up things in the offense for just about everybody. It's not just about Rahsee when you get 4 back. It's about what Rahsee does for everybody. Again, that consistent refrain of everybody's got to eat that you've heard over and over again from this Chiefs locker room. It's clearly something they embody, and it's something Patrick Mahomes embodies in his distribution of the ball. 6 or more receivers with 20-plus yards in each of the last 2 games. 7 against the Lions, 6 against the Raiders. 13 total guys with 20 or more yards in the last 2 games. Not 13 total guys, but 13 receivers, some of them being the same, over the last 2 games, going for more than 20 yards. That's fantastic. That's great ball distribution from Patrick Mahomes. And one of the guys that really stepped up, in my opinion, someone that I think needs to step up again this week, is Brashard Smith. Brashard Smith was so key last week, guys. He was key, obviously, because he was productive, both as a runner and as a receiver. 14 carries for 39 rushing yards, 5 receptions for 42. But look at what he was able to open up for Noah Gray. We'll go back to the first quarter of this game. I took some stills. Check out this fake screen. So we hit this screen to Brashard Smith probably 6 times in this game. Just quick little outs to him. Was more or less effective. But what it did was set up a fake opportunity. So I have the circle on Brashard Smith. Obviously, you can see that. But I also want you to look at that linebacker for the Raiders. See where his head and where his body is faced. He is fully keyed in on that screen to Brashard Smith because he's seen it before. Because we've already run this play. But what is he missing? Noah Gray running right by him. And what does it lead to? Noah Gray getting a 28-yard gain that honestly should have been a touchdown. He should have been able to make a guy miss, get in the end zone, in my opinion. But look at that linebacker. He's 5 yards behind Noah Gray. He's stunned that Noah Gray was actually the target of this play. And that's great offensive play calling from Matt Nagy and Andy Reid. It's great design. And it's what happens when everyone on the football field is a threat to get the ball at any time. When defenses can't just key in on 1 or 2 of the guys on the depth chart. I want to see everybody on this depth chart touch the ball. I want to see everybody on this depth chart be a threat. I want to see Jalen Royals get involved for the first time this season. I think the more guys on this team that are true threats to touch the ball, when you can threaten in so many ways like that, when you have so much talent in the room like we do, and you use it effectively, you create a nightmare for the defense. When the defense has to account for so many threats, it is a huge win for you. So the more we can vary our attack, the more Patrick Mahomes can continue to be this kind of distributor who's passing to as many guys, using as all of his available options as humanly possible, we are going to beat the Commanders. And the last thing we need to do to beat the Commanders, in my opinion, force 3rd and medium or longer. This was interesting. When I was doing my research on this game, when I was watching tape, something that comes up over and over again as an issue for Washington with Marcus Mariota under center is 3rd and medium. So you go to 3rd and 5 or more. They got 12 of these instances under Marcus Mariota. On those 12 instances, they converted and continued the drive just 2 times. That's bad. That is a less than 20% rate of conversion of keeping your drives alive. Their 2 conversions were interestingly both in garbage time of losses, one on a 3rd and 17 and the other on a 3rd and 12. So bad. Bad on 3rd and medium. If you can create 3rd and longs for this offense, you're going to get them off the football field. And that, again, goes back to their inability to rely on the pass. That's why we need to force them to go away from the run, because they really can't do it in critical moments. This is great evidence of that. And something that the Chiefs have been great at, speaking of, over the last couple weeks, is getting their opponents off the field on 3rd and 5 or more. We only got the Lions into 3rd and 5 or more just twice in that one, but we got them off the field both times that we did. And the Raiders, of the 7 times we got them into 3rd down, 6 of those 7 were a 3rd or 5 or longer, and they failed to convert on all 7 of those 3rd downs. That's huge for our defense. That is great at taking advantage of the opportunities you create for yourself. One of the most frustrating things you can do as a defense is get your opponent into 3rd and medium or longer, and then allow them to convert. You create a lot of momentum for your offense when you get the defense off the field in these situations. If we can continue that, if we can continue to force 3rd and long and 3rd and medium and continue to succeed in that distance, we can win this football game. Once again, I'm going to reiterate, this is very, very winnable. You do these 3 things, you handle a team that's leaning on backups, you win, you continue the success we've seen over the last few weeks, get to 5-3, and take first place in this division. Get some help from the Broncos and Chargers. Hopefully they lose this week. We can take first in the AFC West. I'm going to see you guys for takeaways. Hopefully takeaways where we're discussing being first place in the AFC West. Take care, and I will see you guys on Monday.